Hi, she said, I'm Sarah Kinkaid, and this is my second year with the ARI grants. I had one last year, and we're just sort of doing a continuation of what we did last year. We have a small greenhouse that's attached to our school, just a very sort of shed space. It's an 8 by 38 space, and we realized last year that you can actually grow things in a greenhouse, and we were pretty impressed. And so we're wanting to expand on that because, as you know, in Pike County, where we are here, and we're on the very eastern border of West Virginia, the economy is struggling very much as it is in most of the area. And I was thinking of how can we reinvent things in Pike County. I heard a statistic several years ago, this was in the mid-2000s, that Pike County is the only county in the state of Kentucky that has zero redeemable or recordable agriculture. And because the coal industry has declined, we need to do something to revamp the economy. And so I was thinking, well, let's do something with this. And there's been different things that I have done with some personal research and some looking into greenhouse gardening. My grandfather and my uncle took a trip several years ago to Israel, and much of Israel is a combination maritime and Mediterranean arid climate. But Israel is one of the most self-sufficient countries in the world, even though it's not much larger than Pike County in geography. In Israel, they produce a lot of tropical fruits, and much of it is through these very highly technologically advanced greenhouses, and they go on for acres and acres and acres. And so I thought, that's sort of basically a arid, not so hospitable climate, sort of is like a strip mine, basically after that. And so my thoughts with that was, if we could take all of this land that was once very predominant in the coal industry and now repurpose it, because I'm also the golf coach at Belfry High School, and one of the main places that we golf at is at Twisted Gun Golf Course in Warncliffe, West Virginia, and it's a reclaimed strip mine, and they have put that all into recreational use. And I think, well, that's pretty impressive. When it first opened 13 years ago, you barely could get grass to grow, and now through the succession of a climax community, they are now getting small woody plants, which is impressive. They didn't plant them there, they have just shown up. It's mainly autumn olives. You see the same thing existing in Raven Rock Golf Course in Jenkins, and then Stonecrest in Prestonsburg. And so those are all for recreational use, and they bring some commerce to the region, but golf courses are very expensive to maintain. Oftentimes they just lose money. It's just more of a service that the community provides. So I was thinking, how can we still develop this new concept of agriculture, because most students have very little knowledge of growing anything, and that was our first trial and error with my grant last year. Is I thought, kids knew how to do this. My grandparents and my parents taught us how to plant things, and we grew it, and you need to show them step by step on planting, and they're dropping seeds, and it's just sort of a mess. So that was the first learning curve. So I started looking into that. They became so excited. I had some students by the end of the last year's project. She said, I could stay in this greenhouse all day long if you and Mr. Gannon would let me. And I was like, really? I was sort of impressed. And she's like, I think this is great. And so the class only had 9 in it last year. This year's class I have 16. And we have a group of kids who are so excited about doing all these things. So with our money this year, we are going to, instead of creating a low tunnel, which is basically what we saw in Israel and what you can see a lot, or they have a modified high tunnel. We're going to be doing a modified low tunnel in an area in our school. It's on the sunny side of the building. It's just a flower bed that has never really produced flowers. It produced a lot of weeds. It's a 6 feet wide. It butts up right next to our building, and then it runs 92 feet long. So it's a very skinny but very large area. And we're going to be creating what's called a cold frame, not just the actual low tunnel, because we're going to be using the back wall of the school as an insulator, but then also as a wall, so we can't get over to the other side. And the cold frame is basically like creating a smaller shed like we have on the front of the building, and then that's going to produce a fairly substantial amount of surface area to start to grow things in. We'll start them out in small, what are called micropods and fertile pods in the greenhouse with the seedlings, and then we'll transfer our seedlings into the cold frame. The goal is that with this sort of experimental project is that we'll see how much we can actually harvest in a school year and be growing during winter seasons. I've seen so much research, there's different ones even here in the Pikeville area that grew a huge amount of produce when it was 14 below zero and 20 inches of snow, which is totally not normal for Eastern Kentucky. So that is our goal. And we are also partnering with Southside Elementary. They have an actual high tunnel, and when I spoke with one of their teachers, they're like, yeah, we've got the high tunnel, but we have second graders. You know, that their learning curve is a lot more difficult. And so we facilitated some with Southside last year with the American Chestnut program, which we're going to do again in the spring. And we're hoping that my students can go with them at least one day a week and to start growing things in their greenhouse, and maybe we could sort of hothouse them at ours. But it's a big thing is just showing students that you don't have to leave Eastern Kentucky to be successful. Just because Pike County doesn't have agriculture doesn't mean we can't. And figuring out ways to just use what we have and to market it. And you know, and if you develop your own personal profit from it, that's even better. So that's our goal. We're going to be working on that. We'll start our construction, hopefully have everything ready to plant before hopefully by the 1st of December. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you so much.